all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business. Good morning. We're nearing the end of the week, but there's lots going on. This is the daily morning update from Bloomberg Quint with me, Alex Matthew. Over the next few minutes, I'll tell you everything that you need to know at the start of your day. The two-day meet of the U.S. Federal Reserve ended yesterday, and U.S. Fed Chief Jerome Powell is ready to lower rates, just not yet. The FOMC shrugged off President Trump's demand for an immediate cut by leaving its benchmark unchanged while indicating a readiness to ease for the first time in more than a decade. Officials cited economic uncertainties, dropped their patient approach, and forecasted a larger miss of their 2% inflation target this year. The Fed chair said he intends to serve his full 4-year term, despite Trump's repeated criticism that he's not doing enough to boost the economy. In fact, just this morning we received an update from Bloomberg that said that President Trump believes that he has the authority to replace Powell at the Fed. The Fed's apparent willingness to cut rates comes hot on the heels of the ECB announcement that bolstered sentiment earlier in the week. But let's talk about the big news from back home before we move forward. Housing Development Finance Corporation, or HDFC, will buy a majority stake in Apollo Munich Health Insurance Company for 1,347 crore rupees. It's a move that paves the way for the merger of its general insurance business HDFC Ergo with Apollo Munich Health Insurance. The acquisition will take place in 2 steps. For all the details, do look up the story on the website. Indian banks have initiated the process of signing a master intercreditor agreement which will govern the resolution process for stressed assets under the Reserve Bank of India's new rules, which were released last week. And speaking about bad loan resolution, rating agency ICRA has said that operational creditors recovered 42% of their total admitted claims from 92 debt-ridden companies under the bankruptcy law as of March. The Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council has issued a detailed rebuttal to a claim by former Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian that India is overestimating GDP growth. In a paper issued last week, Subramanian had claimed that annual average GDP growth was about 4.5% between 2011 and 2016 instead of the 7% estimated by the Central Statistics Agency. On Wednesday, economists from the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council responded, saying, "A critique of official GDP estimates must specifically critique coverage or methodology. The author does neither." Unquote. The GST Council will consider empowering states to issue electronic movie tickets, a move towards digitization that is expected to check tax evasion, according to a senior government official. The Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday arrested 2 former executives of the IL&FS Group in connection with its money laundering probe. Officials said former Joint Managing Director of the company Arun Saha and Managing Director of the group's transportation network K. Ramchand were arrested last evening in Mumbai under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Back to international news, the OPEC and its allies officially proposed an early July date to discuss new supply cuts, ending weeks of speculation about whether the group of major producers could overcome divisions. Then, a few hours later, the U.S. Energy Information Administration said domestic oil inventories fell by 3.1 million barrels last week, more than any of the 12 analysts in a Bloomberg survey expected. Demand for petrol hit a record 9.93 million barrels a day, and stockpiles of the motor fuel unexpectedly declined. Brent was trading at $62.2 to a barrel last I checked. In international markets, US stocks ended higher with the Dow and S&P 500 climbing 0.2 and 0.3% respectively. The Nasdaq was the top gainer, ending 0.4% higher. Asian stocks are mixed this morning, with only the Nikkei higher by 0.2%. With that, it's over to Darshan Mehta, who's joining me to tell you all about the trade setup for the day. Good morning, Darshan. How are we looking at the start of today?
Hi Alex, good morning. Good morning everyone. The global cues are decent at this point of time, but we are headed into lots of news. First of all, the big deal that happened yesterday between HDFC and the Apollo Group. So HDFC will acquire 51.2% stake in Apollo Munich for 1347 crores, and post the acquisition, Apollo Munich shall be merged with HDFC Ergo General Insurance. For Apollo, it's much positive because they are selling their entire 10% stake in Apollo Munich Health Insurance, and the company will receive 300 crores for it. Macquarie's raised the target price to 1636, and they expect the promoter pledge to be lower by 50%. Even JP Morgan agrees that the deal addresses concerns on pledge and helps in terms of debt reduction. Adani Green, they won bids for setting up a 600 megawatt wind solar hybrid power plant for Solar Energy Corporation of India. IndusInd Bank and Bharat Financial will be in focus. The board has fixed July 4th as the record date for determining the shareholders of Bharat Financial who shall be entitled to receive shares of IndusInd Bank. Ashok Leyland says that the plant at Pantnagar will remain closed from June 24 to June 29 to align with the production and sales requirement. US FDA has afforded a Form 483 with 4 observations to Sun Pharma's Halol plant. Seems a little negative for the company at this point of time. Corporate actions, Wipro and Adani Ports will trade X the buyback today. Citi has upgraded Tata Power to a buy on the back of valuations. They see the Mundra UMPP resolution in the next 3 to 6 months. UBS has raised the target price on BPCL to 600, HPCL to 445 and IOC to 200, while they've cut the target price of Chennai Petro to 208 and MRPL to 68. And finally, Goldman Sachs upgrades Vodafone Idea to a buy as the risk reward is now balanced, but the target price is pretty much near the current market price. So the target that they've given is 12 rupees. But there's much more you need to know before trade actually starts. For that, log on to our website bloombergquint.com and click on the All You Need to Know tab, and you will be prepared for morning trade.
Thanks, Darshan. Well, that's all we have for you on this podcast, but there's a lot more on the website bloombergquint.com, so do check it out. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a lovely day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you could listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.